And Antoine Duchesne also trying to get involved as well for Sky and Europcar respectively. They dropped back after about 20 kilometers. The first break going 9 kilometers in, the first hour at 36.3 kilometers per hour. Then it was just Gilbert and Vachon after the first intermediate sprint. Bob Jungels was helped up there by Stegmans, his teammate, to take just the one bonus second. He's now at 18 seconds. Vachon won the first intermediate sprint. Gilbert behind him, 24 and 15 seconds off the lead of Michal Kwiatkowski, respectively, whose team Ethics Quickstep are now in charge of chasing. Two more third category climbs to come. We've got an intermediate sprint and a final lap and a very, very tricky finish today. Just as we've been coming to air, there's been a change as well in the breakaway. Thomas Vauclair enjoyed being in the break on day one. He's in the break again today. He waited until the gap was coming down. About a minute and a half it was at one stage. Gilbert and Vachon running out of steam. Thomas Vauclair managing to make the bridge. And they now have 4 minutes and 17 seconds with 85.5 kilometers to go. They're staying Vandenberg, where we usually find him at the front of the peloton, doing work for Michal Kwiatkowski. This is the day where Kwiatkowski and Ethics Quickstep are going to have to work really hard to keep their leader's jersey. A finish that looks very, very good for the likes of John Degenkolb, Michael Matthews, even an attack from Sylvain Chavanel. There's a big ramp that comes up. Will the sprinters make it? The big ones to the final 200 meters, that is. It's tricky. Let's go and check on with one, and here's Nasser Bouhanni. Well, Nasser Bouhanni moved from Française des Jeux to Cofidis during the winter. He became the leader there for the bunch sprints. During the winter, the team worked a lot to build a train for him. Let's see how it went on. Nasser Bouhanni. But it's really important to have a train. When you watch the World Tour races, you've only got 5 teams which have a train. If you want to fight against the best, it's an obligation to have a sprint train.
Le train, c'est le sprint moderne.
Well, the train, that's the modern sprint, that's how it works. It's true that in the past, sprinters did these things on their own. But from a few years ago now, we've seen them being a big necessity during the final of a stage. And you need a group to help the sprinter, protect him until the last 300 or 200 meters.
Laisser s'exprimer dans les, allez, je dirais, dans les 250, 300 derniers mètres, voire 200 mètres même.
It's really important. When Nasser Bouhanni was transferred to Cofidis, he needed a few men to help him reach his goals, that is winning races. The team accepted that, and now he's got dedicated riders to put him in the last 200 meters as fresh as possible. Already a winner of 5 Grand Tour stages, 3 in the Giro and 2 in the Vuelta, the young star is demanding, and he does everything to win as many races as possible. To achieve those goals, Jacques Descriants is the coach that helps him.
Le train, je pense que c'est pour placer.
Well, the train, it's to put the sprinter in the best position to win, to avoid risks and avoid getting caught up in the wind before the end, to make the final kilometers easier for the sprinter.
De lisser les derniers kilomètres.
Well, during the winter training camps in Spain, the Cofidis star spent many days with his new teammates to create the train. What is a train? Well, each rider takes a long and hard relay until the last moment of the race to let the sprinter do the business on his own, face to face with the other fast guys. There's a victory, and if there is one in the end, it means that all riders have participated.
Ils doivent être, je dirais, dans un état d'esprit mental.
Well, teammates need to have team spirit and be ready to give 100%, or even more if they can, to help Nasser Bouhanni in the best place. After Nasser, it's up to him to finish the work. And of course, all that teamwork, if it finishes with a win, it's a real reward for them.
Et donner la récompense à tous finalement des efforts qu'ils auront consentis.
Ah bon, maintenant c'est sûr qu'il faut pouvoir reproduire ce recours.
Well, now we've got to do the same train during the races. But before, we need to try this train during training to be perfect on the day of the race. So since the start of the season, Nasser Bouhanni has still been looking for that first victory with his new team, but with the creation of a train and all the experience. First win today, we shall see. So back live, the man who had his train working perfectly yesterday was Andre Greipel. Big win for him. He dedicated it to his poorly mother in the end. Of course, another man who was looking very good. The man who came second was Arnaud Demar, the German and the French champions, battling it out to the line after what was a really exciting end to the stage. We've got King of the Mountains points up for grabs today. We've had Philippe Gilbert winning the first of those. He's the man right at the front in the black and red jersey for BMC Racing. His points on the Croix du Chêne earlier on today now means that he leads the King of the Mountains classification by 1 point. Jonathan Hiver just behind him on 6 points. He wears the jersey today. Philippe Gilbert, well, one of his aims, if he gets the jersey today, we've spoken to his director sportif, Yvan Le Danois. He says if he can keep it today and tomorrow, he'll try to hold on to it all week. So next climb coming up, Vachon and Vauclair in the break as well. 4 minutes 30 today. Sean Kelly alongside me, and Sean, today it's a really interesting end to the stage. You and I have driven it, we've had a look at it, and it could produce some surprising results and a difficult day maybe to keep the yellow jersey for Ethics Quick-Step.
Yes, it is a difficult final. The run up in the last couple of 100 metres, it does kick up quite a lot. We could see some gaps, but will it be between the big favourites? They'll be all made aware, of course, and they go through the finish line, so they will get a feel of a first time round. But that doesn't guarantee that they can stay up there, because it will be a very fast final. They will all want to be in the top 15. Anybody thinking about general classification or stage, you have to be in the top 15, 20 in that final kilometres, and especially as you get to that final ramp with a couple of 100 metres to go. So it's going to be a very contested, hotly contested final.
Up onto the second climb of the day. It's the Côte de Vinc. Third category, 1.6 kilometres, 5.8%. There is Vauclair at the front, again swinging away at his bike. Just behind him, Philippe Gilbert. A lot of you might be surprised to see Philippe Gilbert out in the break. Well, according to his sports director, he needs to test the legs today. Wants confidence of riding in the front before Milan-San Remo. His role this week redefined and confirmed by Yvan Le Danois, when we were able to speak to him. He said that is to assist TJ Van Garderen to try and win the race. He's looking around here, he's wondering if there's going to be any competition for the points. Philippe Gilbert trying to take another 4 points. He will roll over, he will get that first place. Second climb of the day, as the first did, belongs to Philippe Gilbert. He now leads by 5 points, and that confirms that by the end of the day he should well be in the polka dot jersey. 3 out here, which means that Vauclair is there to pick up the 1 point, and whatever happens on the next climb, he will be the man who's going into that jersey, and that's a good day whatever happens now for Philippe Gilbert.
Well, I think it's first of all, he's going to pick up the mountain classification jersey. Secondly, he's getting a little bit of a test as we come close to the classics, Milan-San Remo, of course. And, you know, that is the tactic, as we've been hearing from his team, to go out and get a test for yourself, test your legs, as they say, and he's certainly getting that out here today. And you know, they are putting on a lot of pressure here, because, you know, 5-minute advantage, it's making Ethics Quick-Step work a bit more, and I think it's probably, you know, the most after working this race since the start.
Well, we've had a couple of really slow days on the flat days so far since the prologue. Ethics Quick-Step having to work, as Sean said. Sky just behind, Orica Green Edge as well, with a couple of riders in there. There's Julien Alaphilippe, who rode on home roads yesterday. 5 minutes the gap, 80 kilometres to go, Paris-Nice. On our way to Saint-Pourçain-sur-Sioule today. Tour de France Stage 14 started in this very town back in 2013. It was a day after the day we talked about yesterday, when Mark Cavendish won crazy crosswind day. It was his teammate that would go on to win the next day as well, Matteo Trentin, Ethics Quick-Step, so they have a good record here. Stage starting in Saint-Pourçain-sur-Sioule that day. Today, Gilbert, Vauclair and Vachon all out there in the break. Belgian Wallon, 2 Frenchmen. 78 kilometers to go. Casting our minds back to 2013 when Tour de France Stage 14 started in the town, pardon me, where we're headed to today, Saint-Pourçain-sur-Sioule. 2013 when Matteo Trentin won the race to Lyon that day. It's looking good for Ethics Quick-Step so far in this Paris-Nice. Certainly good news with the shape of the prologue win for Michał Kwiatkowski. The yellow jersey so far, but of course tempered by that injury to Tom Bonen in the 6 weeks that he's going to be out. Conversation. What are we going to do? Certainly there's no language problems in that little group. 2 Frenchmen and a Wallon from Belgium, all French-speaking regions. Yvan Le Danois has been in conversation with Philippe Gilbert, but also with Thomas Vauclair and Florian Vachon there. Sean was saying that Florian Vachon is a man of the region, isn't he?
Yes, that's true. He's from this region, so he knows the roads, but knowing the roads doesn't make it that much easier. You still have to, ride very hard, and with 3 up front, still with 76.4 to go, it's a good advantage, 5:20 at the moment. But again, it's going to be a big test for them. They really have to put in a strong performance or 3 breakaway, and Quick-Step are, going to have to ride a bit more here because the 3 guys are working well up front, and we can see again today the average is not great so far, but I think we might see a bit more of an exciting final. It seems to be heating up this race as we go closer to the sunshine.
Well, it's the race to the sun, of course, and that's where we're headed at the weekend. Nice. It's been good enough weather all week, and that's contributed, as Sean's been talking about for the last couple of days, to the slow, quite lethargic racing at sometimes. But today's a very different kettle of fish, not just with, of course, the parcours that's got 3 climbs in it. It's got a really interesting loop, and it's quite a tricky finish for a sprinter stage, we have to say, with the run in. There's almost a little chicane with 200 metres to go after a very steep ramp from 300 metres to go. It'd be one that if Philippe Gilbert wasn't out in the break, you'd have a look at him to have an attack on, wouldn't you?
Well, you would. That would be the perfect final for him. He could attack on this steep little climb before the finish, but he's not going to be in that situation if they pull back. But again, we've seen it on day 1 when Vauclair was out in front. It looked like that they could be pulled back very quickly, and they went on to hold on very well out in front, so we might see that once again today. But this sprint today, I think it's for the more stronger ones, the Degenkolb, Christoph, the real powerful sprinters. Maybe for Bohani, that little kick up the finish, it might be put him under a bit of pressure, but it's certainly going to be a more difficult finish than we've had in the last 2 days.
What about positioning today, Sean, as well? Because that's surely going to have to be important. Teammates perhaps important to make it fast and strong out, so you've got a bit of space when you come to that chicane at the top of the climb as well.
Yes, well, the leader is always going to be important to get onto that little kick up the last couple of 100 metres, and positioning, you have to be really in the front, because if you're too far back going onto that little climb, well, then you're going to have to make the effort there to move up maybe, and that's what you do not want to have to do. So positioning to be in the top 4 or 5 when you go onto this little climb, that's where you've got to be.
Vonneberg very, very close to the front as usual. Big day for Ethics Quick-Step today. Michał Kwiatkowski talking his chances down at the start of the week, but if he can get through today, keep yellow again, it's all really down to what he can produce tomorrow. And tomorrow's going to be, it's not probably going to be the day that's going to decide the race, because we've still got the lumpy stages where anything can happen. We've still got Col d'Ez, of course, on the final day as well. But tomorrow, I think we'll get quite a few indicators as to who won't win Paris-Nice, won't we, in the mountains?
Yes, I think tomorrow's climb is going to be a very important day. We will see exactly what sort of form the riders who are, named as the favourites for the overall win here. Tomorrow will sort a lot of that out, and we will see some definitely general classification men expecting to be up there in the top 5 in the overall, getting a difficulty tomorrow.
Florian Vachon then, right at the front there, the 30-year-old who's just having a little snack, doing his best to keep up the work, and there's a really good, strong, committed atmosphere in the breakaway today. Vachon is now 30. He had one win last year. That was the classic Sud Ardèche. But the man at the front riding for Bretagne, Séché Environnement, the Frenchman, in the black and light green, had his best year in 2012. 3 of his total 6 pro wins came there. And they included a stage, probably one of the most important wins that he's had in his career so far, on the Critérium International, taking place down in Corsica, in Porto Vecchio, where of course we saw the Tour of France as well. It's been a funny weather day today, quite misty this morning as we drove down, and there was the odd spot of rain as well, Sean, but it looks as though it's going to hold off, doesn't it, at the minute?
Well, forecast is good, no major rain. We see, a couple of drops on the way down. We're seeing it here again on the lens. We can see there's, little drops of rain, but I don't think it will be anything major. Wind conditions very, very calm once again today. Temperature is good, around 12 or 13 degrees. So, it's real good weather for racing, considering what we could expect in Paris-Nice. Some years we've had, in the first 3-4 days, horrible conditions, and the riders will be happy with that. ALE season, good to get, dry weather at least, and the temperature's not so bad here. It will, help a lot. The guys who are to find their condition, get a bit fitter as we get close to more important events like the Milan-San Remo. Perfect weather conditions, perfect biking conditions here in this year's Paris-Nice.
Well, Philippe Gilbert there is looking towards Milan-San Remo, according to his director sportif. He's the man wearing 54. He's got red and black on his back, and of course on the sleeve you can see the rainbow band to note the fact that he won the World Championship in 2012. Well, he's won 3 Amstel Gold races, a couple of Giro di Lombardias. He has been a fantastic rider so far, up until his 32 years of age. So far this year, he's without a win. He did win the points classification, but he's without a win on the road. That points classification coming in the Tour of Ovar the other week. Second on the general classification there. He had a good result in Het Nieuwsblad, an 8th place for him, and he was 6th up to the Hatterdam stage, which if we were going to have an uphill finish today on that sort of ramp that we're going to have, it's very, very similar sort of incline to the one we saw on the Dubai Tour. Everybody expected the likes of Valverde to really go for it that day, but in the end it would be John Degenkolb who power up in the big ring ahead of the likes, of course, of Gilbert and Pippo Pozzato. Gilbert has had a really good start to the year then, nice and solid. And it's interesting as Thomas Leclerc continues to push them on and attack. It's really going to string it out to 5 minutes and 5 now. And they're doing fantastically well to keep it alive. 70 kilometres to go. As far as Gilbert is concerned, Sean, he's looking good, isn't he, for this time of the year?
Yes, well, the results are indicating that he's in good shape. As you said, in Nieuwsblad he was very impressive, and in other races as well. So things are going well for him, and out here on the breakaway today, you have to make a decision. Is he going to wait for the stage and have a go for the stage victory with the run up here, the final ramp, which is really his style of finish, where he's won a lot of races like the Amstel Gold. He's won the World Championships in those sorts of finishes. But he is, I think, trying to work on his fitness for Milan-San Remo. And of course, he's going to take the Porto Jersey classification, so he'll get something out of the day no matter what happens here, and it will be, a big test for him here today, which he needs.
So let's go check in on Team Sky and Nicolas Portal, their sports director.
Team Sky fait partie des...
Everybody's talking about Team Sky all the time. You're always one of the main favourites. Do you feel comfortable with that?
No. Après,
no, we're not alone, but we won a couple of times in the last few years here, with Bradley Wiggins in 2012, Richie Porte in 2013, and we're back with an impressive roster. The team loves this race. We want to do good things here. We've got Brad Wiggins coming back, Richie Porte in good shape, Geraint Thomas, also another leader.
aussi. Donc voilà, on a une équipe assez solide autour d'eux.
Good domestics
voilà,
as well.
Parler de moi, je suis content quoi. Petite course en France.
Regarding me, I'm happy.
Ouais,
I'm in a race in France at home. Good expectations, and as a team, we're pretty confident. So Nicolas Portal, there, the Sky Sports director, and Team Sky. We've already talked about the strength of their roster today, and the whole week really. We saw them active yesterday. Geraint Thomas putting in a good dig. He also took a bonus second as well on one of the intermediate sprints towards the end of the day. And they're a team to watch over the next couple of days, because for tomorrow's stage in particular, they've got weapon and firepower after weapon and firepower, haven't they, for that climb? They've got loads of guys.
Yes, well, they have, you know, the names we've mentioned, Port and Geraint Thomas. They're going to be, I think, the two men. Wiggins, I'm not sure if he's in that shape. We see him yesterday. He was sitting on the rear of the peloton for a while. But again, you know, I wouldn't take too much from that. We could see him tomorrow, you know, hanging in there. But that's where we'll see who is really targeting and who is capable of targeting the overall victim this Paris-Nice. Tomorrow will give us the big picture.
Tomorrow will give us the big picture as far as Team Sky and the rest of the teams are concerned. Philippe Gilbert, Thomas Vauclair in the centre, and Florian Vachon out there at the minute. It hasn't been a good 24 hours at all, though, for French cycling. Yesterday, just as we came off air, we had our colleagues come up to us, pointing at the computer, saying, look at this, look at this. It was a UCI communique, and it said something that led to the AG des Allées Mondiales main man, in terms of the manager, Vincent Lavenu, breaking down in tears at the finish line yesterday. Then a hasty press conference was called. A couple of his main riders flanked him to try and talk the media through what Vincent Lavenu called a bad day, a horrible day. And the problem was that Lloyd Mondori had given an adverse analytical finding, positive test if you like, for EPO. Lloyd Mondori, the French cyclist, not at this race, but of course in the team, not looking good. We're off for a commercial break. We're going to talk about this when we come back. Paris-Nice, keep it Eurosport. Edix Quickstep upping the pace. 65.6 kilometers to go using their motors. Yesterday's winner, Andre Greipel, wasn't really in the mix in terms of taking the yellow jerseys. 10 bonus seconds took him to 34 seconds off the lead of Michał Kwiatkowski. 4 minutes and 45 is the gap between the three breakaway riders, who are Philippe Gilbert and Florian Vachon, who've been out there all the day, and the man who joined them probably about 30 kilometers ago, I think, Thomas Vauclair. Vauclair up there after bridging the gap when the gap was down at about a minute and a half. They've worked really hard to take it out to 4:45 again, and we're seeing a reaction in the peloton immediately, because Michał Kwiatkowski wants to keep the jersey. Philippe Gilbert is now 15 seconds off the lead. Florian Vachon is 24 seconds off the lead. Don't worry about Thomas Vauclair. He lost a lot of time on purpose as well yesterday. 5 minutes 50 behind. He wants to be allowed to go out away in those breakaways and attempt to win stages. Just before the break, we were talking about the bad news overnight from French cycling. AG des Allées Mondiales with a positive test. Their third positive test in 29 months, following Steve Wannard, EPO out of competition test in 2012, Sylvain Georges for a stimulant at the Giro in 2013, and 17th of February is when Lloyd Mondori failed his out of competition EPO test. And coming hot on the heels of the polemic CIRC report, Sean, the other day, which probably didn't tell us too much more, this just isn't a good headline for cycling again this week, is it?
Not at all. And we see Lavenu yesterday, you know, he was really down.
Well, he was inconsolable, wasn't he?
Inconsolable is the word, and I'm not surprised, because, you know, the rider with him for so many years. He's been with him, Mondori, since the beginning of his career, and you know, he had confidence in him, but again, you know, it's let him down, and that's what he said. He doesn't know what he's going to do, if he's going to continue on in his role as director. The team is continuing. They have the sponsors have stood by the team, but Lavenu, he said he's going to finish this race and see then what he does with the team direction, his family and all that. So he is, you know, he was really inconsolable yesterday. And not surprised. Like when a rider is there with you right from the beginning, well then you have confidence in that rider. But here again, you know, the riders, there's some riders who will take the risk, and that seems to be the case with Mondori, that he's just left Lavenu, all his teammates and everybody within the team down badly, and it's just you know, such a bad news once again for cycling.
Well, he was out there in the press conference at the hotel yesterday. He was flanked by his main men in the team, the stars of the team, if you like. Jean-Christophe Perrault, second in the Tour de France yesterday, for some moral support. Pardon me. You had also Romain Bardet, who was there as well, sitting next to him. Both of those riders saying, well, we cannot believe it. You know, we've worked with this guy. We obviously didn't know that this was going on. And Loïc Mondori described in L'Équipe today as a very ordinary rider. And he was an ordinary rider, but a rider who, again, had built up trust and confidence with Lavenu throughout the years. And, OK, it can happen that you get mercenaries, riders that change from team to team all the time. And, you know, they're looking for contracts. It wasn't a contract year for Loïc Mondori. He didn't have to worry about that. It's just a stupid decision from the rider that's really not just let himself down, but let the team down and let the sport down this week. 63 kilometres to go. 4 minutes and 50. Loïc Mondori, by the way, probably, if the B sample is confirmed, going to be the victim of the new 4-year bans as well for EPO. Do you think increasing from 2 to 4 years is a positive step for you, Sean?
Yes, I think it's a good step. You know, it just makes it that much more difficult to get back, because if you're you know, in your career, maybe, you know, a guy 30 years of age or 26 years of age, 2 years you can get through that, but 4 years is a big time, and I think it's a good decision that they get 4 years now, because there's no, you know, there's no excuse for it whatsoever. And I think the 4-year ban, it should deter a lot more. But to this moment, I thought that things were, you know, going much better, but still there's always the ones who will take that risk. That's crazy, stupid.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever get rid of that. There are always going to be idiots, and I think that was the response of Astana in their recent press release as well, saying, well, the Iglinskis messed up our system last year, and, you know, idiots exist, was the response, and you can't really disagree with that. Anyway, on with the racing. 4 minutes and 50 seconds. 1 kilometre to the summit of our final King of the Mountains climb of the day. 4 minutes and 55 is the gap that's written on the board there for the riders. Gilbert will be hoping to add to his lead in the King of the Mountains jersey. At the back of the peloton a minute ago, you could see quite clearly the polka dot jersey of the current King of the Mountains, who is Jonathan Hiver. He's going to lose that today. Ethics Quick-Step controlling this gap, but I think as the kilometres tick by, and this gap is more or less holding here. They're not shaving too much off it, despite some real strong rouleurs at the front there. It's going to be a harder afternoon maybe than some of them anticipated, I think.
Well, I think it's going to be the hardest afternoon for the peloton in this race, because the first 2 days we've had, they haven't been pushed like this. At the moment, our 3 out front are really riding very, very strong, and for that reason, Ethics Quick-Step have to up the pace to, you know, keep it under control. And, you know, it's still 4:45, so, you know, it's going to be a long, hard day for the team, and it's the first day that the team of race leader Kwiatkowski is, you know, having to ride quite hard in the front of the bunch. And at this point, you know, with this distance to go, still at 62 kilometres to go, it's going to be a hard day's work for the team of race leader.
500 metres until the next dishing out of King of the Mountains points. Only third category climbs so far in this Paris-Nice. 4, 2 and 1 points for the winners, second place and third place respectively. Bit of the false flat to the finish really more than anything now. They've got the hard bit of the climb out the way. It's Thomas Vauclair in the green that leads them over. A lot of you asking about his mechanical setup the other day. We were having a nosy last night, weren't we, around the Europe car mechanics truck, trying to have a look at Thomas Vauclair's bike, but unfortunately it had already been cleaned and put away by the time we got there. We didn't manage to see it. I'm not sure if he's got that brake set up on today. Doesn't look like it from there. Gilbert then going for the points. Gilbert in the red, the Belgian rider. Just behind him, Thomas Vauclair is looking around for Vachon. Vachon allowed to go through. And it will be a preordained 1, 2, 3. They know what each rider wants here. Gilbert, Vachon and Thomas Vauclair. And also, Thomas Vauclair's only been in the break for 30 kilometres, so it would be a bit cheeky of him if they were going to ride on through like that to just nip in front of Florian Vachon, who's done the hard work all day long.
Yes, well, they've been out there much longer, and Vauclair, of course, as well. He has no interest whatsoever in the mountain classification, and he's just followed over there in the third place. But it's Philippe Gilbert who is carving up a lot of valuable points here, and with the days to come, he's going to try and hold on to that now. I think get the polka dot jersey and take it all the way to Nice. And it's going to be an interesting final here. Still the 4:45. Will they be able to hold on to that? If they can hold on to that 4-minute advantage and get into the final 30 kilometres, well, then we could see these three putting a lot of problems for the ATIX Quick-Step team to close down this gap totally.
Well, a change to the order, and it means that other teams are starting to realise that this is a serious job as well now. Teams that want to take something today. Giant Alpecin have a chance to take the yellow jersey, and a really good chance with John Degenkolb. He is at just 2 seconds off the lead. Of course, ATIX Quick-Step want to defend that, but Giant want to take it off them. They want a stage win as well, so they've started to contribute to the chase as well, putting a man up there. And with John Degenkolb, he doesn't really have to win the stage today, does he? He could finish in anywhere in the top 3 as long as Kwiatkowski finishes behind him, and those who finish in front of him don't take too much of an advantage themselves.
Well, he's in a prime position in the general classification, and he's worked hard for the last 2 days in the sprints. He's been up there, but hasn't managed to do today the running as well. The Degenkolb finish here, certainly with a little uphill. He likes that sort of finish. He's proved many times he can win on this sort of terrain, and it all depends who is in front of him, or who finishes behind him as well. So it is very tight, but he's definitely out a good chance. Last chance to get race leadership.
Last chance for John Degenkolb. We're off for a quick break. 60 k's to go. Very welcome back. 59 k's to go. 4 minutes and 55. It's not changing at the moment. Holding on to the advantage, the 3 riders who've been out in the break. Philippe Gilbert, Florian Vachon, and of course Thomas Vauclair, who's joined them a little later on. Good work earlier on today from Bob Jungels as well. Interesting that he should ride the first 27 kilometres or so in the break with a teammate. Het Steegman's a really big rouleur. He's been a sprinter in the past, a lead-out man as well for various riders. Steegman's a good man to look after him. And 1 second, in Paris-Nice they all count. He's now 18 off the lead, and good work for Bob Jungels there.
Yes, it was a good performance to get that little bit of a time bonus, and I think I don't know what exactly the plan was, whether they expected maybe to get into a breakaway, but when you're in that position in the overall classification so close, well then it's difficult to get out of the peloton. But again, here we have Gilbert, who is very close also in the general classification. At the moment there's so many riders in the peloton that are very close to getting into the race leadership if they're allowed to get away in a breakaway and get a big advantage, but that's not been the case. Although this breakaway still have the 5 minutes, but they've never allowed a breakaway where they can leave it take 10 or 12 minutes. If you have somebody who is 6 or 8 minutes down in general classification, I think the advantage they would be allowed would be much greater, but the race is not opened up enough yet, and there's not that distance between the riders.
So 5 minutes as they come over to the King of the Mountains. Five minutes. Vauclair, Gilbert and Vachon still ahead. This is how it stands, the virtual polka dot jersey classification. 15 points now for Philippe Gilbert. He leads by 9 over Jonathan Hiver. Florian Vachon in third. Lots of points up for grabs tomorrow, though, don't forget. There are plenty of climbs over the next few days, and that's when the King of the Mountains is really going to be played out. Tomorrow, it's the mountain stage. We leave the Allier region, the 3rd département in France, the number 3, up to Croix de Chaboret in the number 42. And we've got, well, a first category climb at the end. We have several third category climbs, that is 5 of them by my count, and then 2 second category climbs. There are points all over the place to be had tomorrow, and whatever happens in terms of trying to win the stage or not, if you can get in the break and you can last until the second to last or the last climb, you can put yourself up in a real good position tomorrow, Sean.
Yes, well, tomorrow is going to be the day again for the mountain classification. I think it will be decided tomorrow. If you can get into a breakaway and you know, pick up a lot of points, there's a lot to be picked up tomorrow during the stage, then you'll have a great chance of going on. But tomorrow's going to be a very important day, and I think Gilbert, I'd be surprised if we don't see him tomorrow trying to make it to the breakaway again.
Well, according to his director sportif, that was the plan, certainly after yesterday. Otarovic at the back. Oh, coming together of riders, screeching of brakes there. Everybody okay. Just a very short left-hand turn. Back up to 5 minutes here, though. Seemed to be behind that there was a very slight pulling off of the pace from Ethics Quickstep. The giant rider we saw disappeared as well after a quick word from Tony Martin. Of course, Tony Martin, pretty much an expert at reeling people back in. Perhaps he thought it was a little too early yet. 5 minutes, though. Long way to go. Certainly from this group, whatever happens, if it does come down to not too much at the end, the fact that Vauclair joined later, he's looking for a stage when he's looking for something. Surely, if anybody out of these three is going to have a big attack at the end and have a try, it's Vauclair, isn't it, Sean? Well,
Vauclair is going to have to attack. If they are allowed to hold on out there, I'm going for the stage victory. But the run in this little final climb at the end will suit Vauclair as well, as it will suit Philippe Gilbert. So it's going to be an interesting one if they can stay out. But at the moment, it's hard to tell. 5 minutes with just 55 kilometres to go. That is something, you know, we have to wait and see, because I think there's certainly enough time for the peloton to start pulling it back. And you know, we've seen Giant, they put a man up there. I think they will start contributing as well, as there will be other teams maybe who will start appealing to work with Ethics Quickstep to pull back this three-man breakaway.
Giacomo Nizzolo doing a bit of bottle running at the back there. A couple of bottles shoved down the jersey. Expect him to be in contention if there's a few riders come to the line together here, as we expect there might be. Will all the thick leg sprinters get over, though? That's the question. Positioning going to be vital. The chase is back on, it seems. They're all strung out again. As Sean said, Giant have committed a man. Third wheel there with the two Ethics Quickstep riders who are riding. Through the town of Charroux on the way up a little further down the road. Gilbert leading them through. Yvon Le Danois today talked about the confidence of riding at the front for Philippe Gilbert ahead of Milan-San Remo. Is it really that helpful to go on a breakaway and just ride yourself and put that fitness on before a race as long as San Remo? Is this the time you really need to be doing it before those races?
Well, I think it's a test, first of all. You see how, you know, strong you are, how fit you are, riding out in front in a small group, a three-man breakaway. It's a big test. If you stay in the peloton here and you get carried along all day, of course, it's much easier. You're going to be better in the end, of course. You can contest the stage victory if that is the case for the main peloton, but you don't really, you know, give yourself a good fitness test, and that's what Gilbert is doing. He's, you know, going out here thinking of Milan-San Remo and the classics later on in the season. So it's the way to do it, to, you know, push yourself really to the limit, and that's what he's going to have to do. And with the advantage they have at the moment, the three leaders, they will really push on a big push in the final kilometres if they're allowed to hold on out there. And we're getting closer. It's coming down, 54.7 to go. So it looks like that these guys could get, you know, into the final, and if they do, they are going to have to ride, give it their 100%, and that's the way you improve your fitness level.
All set for a really exciting last hour or so then on Paris-Nice Stage 3. Ethics Quickstep still at the front. There's the yellow jersey of Kwiatkowski. Even if it comes back together here, they're going to have to work hard to keep him in that jersey today. Stijn van den Berg, again, pedals away. It's an image we see so often throughout the season. Of course, he'll be allowed to work for himself a little more as the classics come round, if he gets himself in those groups. Talking about the classics and talking about Ethics Quickstep, Tom Bonen is having an operation today, so best of luck to him, and best for a speedy return. He's off to the Herentals Clinic. Fell here on stage 1 of Paris-Nice, and A very, very nasty shoulder injury, ligaments, bit of a dislocation and a break as well. They're saying it's 6 weeks, but of course that all depends on the operation, and it's not an easy thing to recover from. 4:55. Jonis Aguirre, the Spanish champion, riding in the middle there. And a Spanish flag alongside the fans from Brittany and the Basque Country. Not a good day for HDTV Mondial. Sébastien Minard, I'm sure they'll be happy to get back on the bikes though. Sun shines on Paris-Nice. Race to the sun with Giant Alpecin trying to close things down. A lot of the arm warmers and big gloves have come off in the last hour or so for many of the riders. Sean was saying it's a perfect temperature to be out there riding today. Certainly for the time of year, not too cold at all and certainly not too hot. When the business has to be done, you're all right with the arms and legs showing, not too cold at all. Vauclair then on the right hand side. This is Gilbert. Looks down at the numbers. The minute out front, they're still going faster. Goes up again to 5 minutes and 5. Remember, this is stage 3, but day 4. 1,137 kilometers over 8 days. I'm heading into the Massif Central today, into the Auvergne region, and Saint-Pourçain. This an area you know well, Sean?
Yes, it's an area I know well. I wouldn't say I know, real well, but I've been through this area quite a lot. We've seen there in the peloton, as we see a rider just going off on the side. It's a little bit more difficult than we've had in the last 2 days. We could see there just a moment ago in the peloton, they were going up a drag, maybe a kilometre long, and we have quite a few of them after the GPM points where it goes up and down a bit. So it's certainly a bit more testing for the team on the front at X264 to control, because our 3 men out in front are very strong riders. And this sort of terrain is certainly helping them, and it goes all the way pretty close to the finish. Although at the finish it does get more flat sections in it, but there's still quite a lot of little short little climbs to get over here on the way to the finish.
A lot of old towns, and we're looking at the Église Saint-Jean-Baptiste, St. John the Baptist Church. 5 minutes and 5. This region, full of forest, little old towns, rivers, lakes. There's actually once a volcanic area, the Massif Central. Oldest part of France geologically, but of course culturally as well, with the rural nature, one of the most firmly rooted in the past. Vichy is just down the road from here, where the famous Vichy government during the World War ran France. And we're in the region of Auvergne today. Famous for its wine around here as well, certainly with once upon a time that rich volcanic soil. Actually, Pourçain, where we are today, I've been reliably informed, is one of the great denominations of origin in France for wine. There's Vachon on the left. Good week so far for Bretagne Séché Environnement. We talked about how important it was for them yesterday, but they're certainly living up to expectations and playing a part in the race every day, Sean.
Yes, well, they have been very active in the breakaways every day, and yeah, it's a tactic of the team in this race to try and have men up up in the breakaway and see what happens. If there's a break that succeeds, well, then you're in there with a chance. They're not going to be able to win, for example, in a big bunch finish on any of the stages we've had or today. So why not, put a man up there and see what happens? And yeah, they have been, performing very well for one of the smaller teams. Let's call them. That's what they've got to do in this race. Always, try and get a man the breakaway and see what happens further into the stage.
Interesting to watch over the next couple of days as well. They can keep getting people in those breaks. Their best rider at the minute in the general classification is Arnaud Gerard, who was at the break yesterday, remember. 32nd at 22 seconds. Jonathan Hiver, of course, until today has worn the polka dot jersey. Really interesting to see if he can get in the break again tomorrow. Try and wrestle it back. Plenty of points available, as we said. What will Philippe Gilbert have in his locker? Tinkoff Saxo en masse towards the back there. Rafał Majka, a big day for him tomorrow. Huge day for him. And of course, he has form on French mountainous roads after last season. King of the Mountains in the Tour de France, those stage wins. The famous one where he was winking at the camera when he went past on the way to victory. Good character in the sport. Gilbert, Vauclair and Vachon in the break. Continue to ride on. 4 minutes 55, and they're inside 50 kilometres now. And we've seen in the last 10 to 15 kilometres, despite the good work, nothing much has changed. Good workout that Sean Kelly was talking about for Philippe Gilbert. And it's going to be really interesting with Gilbert, seeing him back on the cobbles again, because last year he had the cobbles off, really, didn't he? He concentrated on the Ardennes Classics. We had Greg van Avermaet, the leader for the cobbles. Van Avermaet then riding in support of Gilbert in the hilly classics. Gilbert this season looks like he just wants to attack everything on the one-day scene in spring, and he must be feeling good and very motivated.
Well, we will see how well he's feeling. I think we have to wait until we get to classics time, because what we've had till now, he is showing good shape and everything is going the right direction. But the big classics are another level up, and the distance, of course, the 250, 260 kilometres, Milan-San Remo, 280 kilometres. So they're much longer events than they've had all season. And as we mentioned some moments ago, Gilbert is using this as preparation for the classics by going out here in the long breakaway today. So he is going in the right direction, and he's hoping that he can get to his best shape at the right moment when they get, I suppose, to the Belgian Classics more so. But Milan-San Remo is it's not a majorly difficult parcours. It's a long race, but yeah, if you have pretty good form, you can do well in the Milan-San Remo. We've seen just a moment ago there the weight is riding on the front of the peloton, and here we are now. They're really pushing on, and you get the real picture when you look at the back of the peloton. There was a lot of riders there, giving it a lot of effort to stay in contact. That tells that the pace is really high, and the reason being up front, they're also riding at a very fast pace, and this race is going much faster than we've had in the last 2 days. It's going to be more of a tiring final, and the question is now, the three up front, how strong are they? Can they keep going like this all the way to the finish? That's going to be a big ask.
Well, another team have just thrown their hat into the ring. Katusha of Alexander Kristoff, who is leading the points competition at the minute in the green jersey. He's put a man up there, so there were 3 teams now pulling in the peloton. It's gone down to 4 minutes 50. A little bit of an increase in pace, as Sean was saying. So Katusha, Giant and Ethics now riding at the front. Still 47 kilometres to go on stage 3 of the 73rd Paris-Nice, the opening event of the UCI World Tour on European roads. The race to the sun, and of course from today, remember, Tirreno Adriatico also live on Eurosport. You can take your pick and catch up later on with whichever one you missed during the day. Do not miss the cycling on the home of cycling. Remember, stay in touch with us as well. Hashtag home of cycling. Sean and I would love to hear from you. These guys at the front would love to bring this back. 4 minutes 40, and the addition of that extra Katusha rider seems to have had a bit of an effect, Sean.
Yes, well, fresh men coming to the front, and out front are 3 leaders. They are going to, start tiring as we get closer to the finish, and that is normal when you're out there for a long time, especially, Gilbert. He's been up there with Vachon, and they are going to tire. Vukla a little bit fresher, but still back in the peloton. You know, we're going to see more teams starting to appear and put 2 men on the front of the peloton with Ethics Quick Step, and then, you know, the advantage will start coming down as we see it. It's clicking down all the time now. 4:35 at the moment. It's starting to get difficult for our 3 breakaways.
Florian Vachon from Montluçon, where we drove through on the way today. Probably around 30 kilometers or so, I think it was, from where we speak to you from, 100%-sur-Sioule. Tour de France stage start host about 2 years ago. It was easy to remark coming into the town. It was a small town of about 5,000 people. And there were reminders of that Tour de France stage start everywhere you looked today. There were murals painted in the windows of bakeries. We had a big monument up in the square to exactly where the stage started. It's something that people are really proud of. They've had the Tour de l'Avenir here a few years ago. I think it was 2010. This is the first time Paris-Nice has visited this town. And it just shows you how important it is for these small towns to have that hold in French cycling and show themselves off to the world. Well, Yam Cycling have been one of those teams hoping to do something. Sylvain Chavanel might want to attack that little ramp at the end today. He'll certainly want to try and get some sort of a stage win and a good GC this week. They've already stated their ambitions. One man who's always alongside Sylvain Chavanel, back from Quick Step days, here with Yam Cycling, it's Jérôme Pinault, the French rider, and we were lucky enough to speak to him before this race. Well, our goal is to do everything for Sylvain Chavanel. He's in really good physical condition, he's confident. We talked a lot this week, and he has a precise goal in his mind. Because I'm not going to tell it you, because he doesn't need to say it publicly. But I know that he loves this race, and that gives him more confidence. We aren't big favourites, and there aren't any big favourites, to be honest, because the race is really open. Many riders have high ambitions. There aren't many riders who have a level that is as good as Sylvain, though. He needs to be ambitious. We hope windy weather will be there to strap some of the skinny guys out the way in the first few days, but we're still optimistic. Sylvain is in great shape. Nice to hear from Jérôme Pinault there, and he's right, it really is an open race, this, Sean.
Yes, it is an open race. He said there's not a lot of riders have the level of Sylvain, but that's true. But there's a lot of riders maybe have a better level also, and that we will see tomorrow. You know, I'm not sure how good Chavanel is, and a lot of the riders as well. They're not sure themselves how good they are, and tomorrow will be, you know, a real test. When you get a mountaintop finish, it's always exciting. It's always a real test of the rider's fitness level, and that we will see tomorrow who's really good in this race, because you can sit here in the peloton and follow in the last 2 days, and again today. You don't have to be great to be able to follow, but tomorrow you have to be really good to stay with the ones who are going to be going for general classification. It's good to hear you talk about the condition and how different it is from just training, than certainly in the way that you don't know your race condition until you actually take on the races. We were talking about Philippe Gilbert and the Classics. Obviously he's been good so far. You rightly said the Classics and those big monuments is another couple of levels above this. Is it a worry? Is it something that constantly plagues your mind when you're going into these races, thinking that, yeah, I'm going so well? Can you still be worried that you're just not going to make the level when it comes to those big races? Well, you're always concerned, you know, before you go into the bigger races of the season. Take just the Paris-Nice here, for example. You know, in the previous races you're performing quite well, but again, when you go into a stage race and then you go against maybe different riders, maybe riders who are a little bit better trained, have, you know, trained a bit harder over the winter time, more earlier training, and you know, you can get a surprise that some riders are going so well. But the only way to do it is, as Gilbert is doing today, go out there and work on your fitness. If it's pretty good, well, you know, you need maybe something extra, going a breakaway for a long time out in front. That does bring on your fitness level a lot. And tomorrow in the mountaintop finish, that's where we will see the general classification men. You will get an indication. You will see very quickly who are the real good ones, and you will, you know, get an indication also how good you are yourself. Are you capable of staying up there with the best ones, or are you a little bit under your best? Tomorrow a lot of riders will get that answer. We saw that
sort of thing happening in the Middle Eastern races. Certainly in Oman in the last week. Vincenzo Nibali was a real good case in point. We got to the mountain stage in Oman, and he put a couple of attacks in at the bottom, just testing himself. Soon realised that he wasn't with the best guys on the day, and he ended up finishing way down. And you mentioned the condition, people at different levels at this time of the year. It was really interesting. On that stage, you had people like Dries Devenijns finishing right up in the top 15 on a mountain stage with some of the best guys. It's a really interesting time of year because not everybody is at the same level, and you can get those surprises, and we could get some surprises like that tomorrow.
Yes, well, we've always had surprises in Paris-Nice. You know, you get younger riders breaking through, and they, you know, put in some great performances. Other riders, you know, on a better level than we have seen them at this time of year, maybe putting in some really strong performances. And when you look at the races like Oman, you know, you get riders who are really in good shape, and they're, you know, very much up there in the shake-up for the general classification or for a stage victory. So yeah, it's an early part of the season for everybody. So, you know, the teams, they haven't really had a test. They haven't really had the opportunity to see how good the opposition is going. And, you know, tomorrow in this mountaintop finish, that's where you will see the real fit men, the men who are at very close to their best.
Edix Quickstep riding close to the best. Stijn van den Berg is in full power mode here. In the last 5 to 10 minutes, you've seen him starting to pull a few faces. Sébastien Chavanel at the back there. It was quite a hectic end to the stage yesterday for Française des Jeux, but they almost did it with Arnaud Démare in the end, and as we said yesterday, that'll be good comp. Matteo Bono going back towards the car as well for Lambre Merida. 4 minutes and 15. So in the last 10 kilometres, we've been talking, what, 45, 50 seconds that have come off the gap. So it's certainly a good pace from the peloton behind, but it's not going to be an easy job still. What we have seen, though, is with different teams committing resources to the front, we've had some big results. Cannondale Garmin now suddenly coming towards the front as well. We saw them try yesterday, and again, they don't really have any big sprinters. But with the parkour and the end of it today, as Thomas Vauclair is in conversation, doesn't look massively happy. Gets that sugary drink down him and tries to get in the zone. Gilbert with a quick word for him. 4 minutes and 10. 41 Ks to go then. Paris-Nice continues. The sun shines on the race to the sun. Join us after this break for the concluding part of today's stage.